Welcome back. This is the last of the small videos of all the large videos we've done this semester. I know it's been kind of a chaotic semester and we wanted to wrap it up. You all have been exposed to some very interesting learning environments this semester. You got some real world experience with some of these things. So I think you're probably coming off a little bit better than most students with understanding the consequences of infectious disease and managing that. And we wanted to build up a little tiny summary for you so that you could bring this all together with everything you've learned all semester. So Dr. Stern Cardinale.
All right. So to wrap up our look at infectious disease, we talked about infectious diseases that are caused by pathogens. In this topic, we looked at viruses, bacteria, and parasites. So we looked at the bacteria that cause Lyme disease and the parasites that cause malaria, plus the viruses that are responsible for the current coronavirus pandemic. We talked about how we can treat and prevent this kind of thing with vaccines, with changes to behavior, with extensive testing for pathogens, and also treatment with antibiotics and other drugs. Now, one thing you probably came away with is that this stuff is hard. Being able to effectively treat and prevent diseases is really hard. But despite that, we've actually gotten really good at this during the 20th century. In this figure, we have deaths per 100,000 people per year. And by the way, you're not going to be tested on this figure. And across the x-axis, we have the 20th century. And you can see, aside from the giant spike of the 1918 influenza pandemic, we've done a great job bringing down deaths from infectious disease. So right now, we're putting into play all of the stuff we've learned over the last century in terms of how to deal with this kind of thing. One last thing from me is going to be two recommendations. First is a class. If you like these topics on infectious disease and the related evolution, consider taking 11-216-405, The Evolution of Infectious Disease. The textbook for that course is this book recommendation, The Coming Plague by Laurie Garrett, which is all about the emergence, discovery, and basically discovering the solution to a bunch of diseases as they appeared in human populations in the 20th century. So talking about like Ebola, Lassa, Marburg, influenza, bubonic plague, lots of fun diseases. And so if you read this book, a lot of it will sound very familiar to you in the current context. So strongly recommend that class. It's taught by my PhD advisor, and she's wonderful. And the book by Laurie Garrett. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Beal to wrap things up.
I know this semester has been a little weird, and it feels like it's the longest semester in the history of ever. But you've actually learned a massive amount of stuff in a very short period of time. In 116, we focused on two really big aspects. We spent about the first third of the class talking about phylogenies, how things were related to each other, shared characteristics that they have, and what that meant about the commonalities of life on Earth, why things were also similar, but also why things were so different than each other, how they ended up branching off into lots of different niches, living in different habitats, looking similar but doing very different things. And then we flipped that around exam 2 and we started looking into the systems. How were bodies working? How is homeostasis maintained? Those were two big aspects of what we spent the entire course with. But if you take your mind back to September of 2019, you'll realize that we actually covered a whole lot of things. This course covers an incredible number of individual ideas: diversity and phylogenies, systems, ecology, evolution, transcription, translation, photosynthesis, cell respiration, oh my goodness, oil rig, and all of the topics we talked about, mitosis and meiosis. They've all fit together with this common idea of evolution. Life is complex, and evolution itself explains the complexity, the diversity, and yet it also explains the basic similarities in all of these organisms. We've all been talking about just one topic and lots of different aspects. So this organizer you're looking at right here is something we've spent the last 9 months, 10 months trying to comprise together. And I challenge you to go ahead in the next classes or the classes that you take or for the rest of your life and tie these systems together. use evolution and the concepts of evolution as your guiding understanding of how all these connections are actually tying together in biology, and take that forward as you learn into your next courses, as things are actually going to get a little more detailed, a lot more complicated, and I hope for you, incredibly more interesting. From me, this has been a very interesting semester. I've appreciated everyone's effort in, your comfort level and everything changing so quickly. You guys have really put your best foot forward. You really have been doing very well all semester. I think that you've learned a lot, and please feel free to come back and talk to me. I'm sure talk to Dr. Stern Cardinale anytime, and continue this discussion with us, because now you're ready to get into the interesting stuff. And you have last words.
Yeah, so that's not just one semester, that is 2 semesters. So
Yeah.
thank you for listening to us for these 2 semesters. Thank you for coming to our reviews, and just good luck on everything. Keep an eye out for announcements for the final exam and the final reviews. And that's the end of Gen Bio. Bye, everybody.
Well
Come
done.
see us next year.
In real
Clap
life.
for yourselves.
Yay.
All right, that's the end. Bye, everybody. But despite that, oh, that was anticlimactic. It didn't click over. Hang on. Lame. Okay.